Hi, this is I'll Explain. This time I'm going to explain the Zaku II FZ. Zaku II FZ, model number MS-06FZ, is a late war variant of Zaku II for the Principality of Zeong to replace Zaku II F. While the similar Zaku II F2 was developed by retrofitting Zaku II F with new parts from the Maintenance Unification project, Zaku II FZ was developed by recreating the Zaku II F with Z parts. Both Zaku II FZ and Zaku II F2 retain the F designations since they are designed to be the new version of Zaku II F, the standard model of Zaku II during the One-Year War. Zaku II FZ is also designed to be an all-terrain mobile suit like the F2. That's why you would see a lot of features of Zeong ground-type mobile suit on the FZ while keeping a lot of features of a space type. Let's take a closer look and see how all the new parts in the Maintenance Unification project recreate the Zaku II F, starting from the head. At first glance, Zaku II FZ's head looks very much like the standard Zaku II's head. However, upon closer inspection, you can see the snout is slightly longer, and the mono-eye open has no supporting beams like Goof. This is because the Zaku II FZ uses a simplified version of the Goof's head from the Maintenance Unification project, which in turn means Zeong could unify production further down the road. Presumably, Zaku II FZ would be able to equip play antenna for team leaders, but those variants are rarely spotted. There is also, however, this Type B head, which has records suggest that it was used by team leaders, but there are also records suggesting a full company of Zaku II FZ with Type B head was deployed. That is because the helmet on top was not only added to protect its head better from behind, as you can see how it covers transmission conduits, but also increased internal volume of the head to make room for extra antenna loops and communication devices. I take the liberty to paint this Type B head's mono-eye opening to make it a visor type. And spoiler alert, as adopted by forces who needed them but did not want the cycloptic Zeong visage. Also note the Type B snout has a circular vent instead of louver type. Zaku II FZ's torso may look like a grand departure from Zeong designs at first, but this is again rooted from Goof, and was created to further bridge the difference between Geogok and early Zeong mobile suits. In fact, much like the Goof, Zaku II FZ's torso also has some influence from the MS-08 series. Again, as Zeong tried to unify their mobile suit designs should the war continue. The cockpit behind the big red hatch is located right at the center of the torso like Goof, but you will notice two vents on the side of the chest like MS-08. The chest armor plates are also more angular like those on Geogok, but the abdomen is rounded like older Zeong mobile suits. The pulse transmission conduits around the torso are also affixed to the waist like Goof, and runs back inside the mobile suit first instead of straight back to the backpack. The skirts are also extended like Goof and like MS-08. Zaku II FZ also has RPG motors installed in the front of the skirts. It also has a counter thruster in the middle, a feature common with the F2. A grenade rack is installed on the right skirt, which we will come back when we talk about weaponry. Zaku II FZ's legs are also very similar to the F2. with larger apogee motors on the side. Since FZ is not a retrofit, Xeon took the opportunity to modify the design of the lower leg, providing rooms for a main thruster inside, instead of taking up extra room and weight like older Zaku II variants. This is definitely another Groove and MS-08 influence. Although the pulse transmission conduits remain outside, probably for cost reduction and an effort to keep the FZ Zaku II looking. Zaku II FZ's feet are reinforced for ground combat while keeping the thrusters underneath, as you would expect for an all-terrain mobile suit. The reinforced toes are probably added for special operations, as we will see when we talk about how Xeon deployed them. Zaku II FZ's arms are what you expected from a post-maintenance unification project mobile suit, a new standard design that works with most Xeon mobile suits. In fact, the arms themselves are pretty much identical to those on the F2. Like the F2, the fan braces can be replaced with ones with hardpoints or even weapon modules, while the spike shoulder pad on the left is pretty much the same as the early Zaku II's. The shield mounted on the right is a newer design. I said newer instead of new because a similar design was used for the MS-08, trying to increase the overall coverage of the shield while retaining protection on the top side of the shoulder without enlarging the shield. Zaku II FZ's backpack is quite a departure from Xeon's previous designs. Some would even say it is Federation-like. However, upon close inspection, you will notice the backpack is simply an enlarged version of Zaku II's backpack, with an extra thruster in the middle, which is more similar to the MS-08 series like Ifrit. Curiously, Xeon didn't install a larger reactor in the Zaku II FZ. However, with the additional cooling vents and improved heat exchange system, extra thrusters, along with the improved physicality comes with the newly designed parts, Zaku II FZ have better performance than the Zaku II S-Type, which was reserved for ace pilots and notoriously difficult to maintain. FZ, however, is easy to maintain and operate like regular F-Type, becoming an immediate favorite of armorers, mechanics, veterans, and new recruits alike. Zaku II FZ can use most non-beam weaponry in the Xeon mobile suit arsenal, and this example here has what would be considered a standard loadout: a 19mm machine gun, a grenade rack, and a hit hawk. The hit hawk is more or less the same as those used in the early stage of the war, but redesigned to improve manufacturing process. This example only has a holster clamp mounted on the back skirt, but there are records suggesting alternative mountings on the left skirt or the inside of the shield. The grenade rack simply holds mobile suit-sized hand grenades that Zaku II FZ would throw or set up with its hands. Unlike the cracker grenades often seen in the early stage of the war, that was designed to be used against Federation battleships in formations, these hand grenades are more traditional design, to be used against human-shaped mobile suits. The red coloring indicates these ones are napalm or incendiary, with oxidizer added for space use. Black runs would indicate high explosive, but after the war, Xeon remnants are usually more concerned about lower visibility, so they would be painted in the same color as the FZ, while other forces would choose less lethal charges like smoke, chaff, or even utility ones like multi-purpose foam or polymer, but keep them in bright red as warning. The 90mm machine gun is the late war standard range weapon of Zeong, designed to fight Federation mobile suits instead of battleships and space jets. While the rapid-firing 90mm high-velocity slugs works well against Federation mobile suits with standard titanium ceramic plates, it does not have the multi-function like the large 120mm rounds for more traditional battlefield targets, HE for area explosions, Flak for airbursts, or APDS against particularly tough targets. That's why an underbarrel grenade launcher is added at the end of the handgun. Now there are some debates about how the grenade launcher operates. Sometimes it is depicted as single-use only, and the Zaku II FZ or other mobile suit using it need to replace the entire tube to fire again, while sometimes it is depicted as there is an internal magazine in the very much oversized handguard, and the cover simply get blown off when the first round was fired. There is no evidence against one or the other, and Zeong 90mm machine guns could have been overbuilt for the option of an underbarrel grenade launcher or oversized handguard housing a recoil dampening system that can be repurposed to launch grenades. Regardless, this setup was very popular toward the end of the 1-year war and continues to be popular afterwards. This 90mm machine gun also features an optic on top. While not universal, it is not uncommon either, since the 90mm machine gun was designed to be used against other mobile suits. The combat distances are presumably close, unlike the 120mm Zaku machine gun. However, for confined spaces like urban areas, interior of space colony, or fortresses, Zaku II FZ can use this optic to pick around with only the 90mm machine gun exposed. Like we have mentioned when we talk about Zaku II FZ's backpack, while it is still using the same reactor as Zaku II F, it has more thrusters and better physicality, giving it a higher total thrust and speed. Along with improved cooling and heat exchange system, Zaku II FZ is expected to have better operational endurance. However, since Zaku II FZ was built to be the same size as Zaku II F, it does not have more internal space to hold propellant like Zaku II R, Dome, or Dugok. Given how user-friendly Zaku II FZ is compared to those larger mobile suits, it was found that some pilots, mostly new recruits, unleashing the FZ's fury too fast too soon, using up all the propellant way before their next pit stop. So while Zeong could put newly trained pilots in Zaku II FZ, they would need a new doctrine for them. That is why you can often see reports of Zaku II FZ being deployed alongside Rekdom or Rekdom 2, charging with their greater speed together for quick strafing runs, and cutting down scattered Federation mobile suits with their melee weapons, where new recruits can just go as hard as they could be to follow the veterans in Rekdoms, boosting the rank of Rekdom formations. Some veterans even choose Zaku II FZ over Rekdom because they are more familiar with Zaku II, and they know how to conserve propellant to extend their runs. That is also why you see Zaku II FZ very popular among Zeong Marine units. Zeong Marines don't just launch land operations from the sea or paradrop operations from high altitude. They also infiltrate space colony or fortresses to make way for the main fleet. Zaku II FZ, being an all-terrain type mobile suit, can be used for most of their missions. The enhanced thrust and physicality allow it to be dropped from greater heights, and the reinforced feet are not only good for landing, but also used to breach hatches on space colony and fortresses if the hit hawk cannot be used to avoid detection. Zaku II FZ also has the speed needed to launch ambushes in short notice or escape if things went south. Them being very similar to the old Zaku II can also confuse the Federations about these units' capabilities and even their intention. However, since Zeon Marines are always fighting against grey odds, even by Zeon standards, most of these units and their Zaku II FZ did not survive the 1-year war. As I had alluded to, Zaku II FZ was also adopted by other forces post-war besides Zeon remnants. First would be the Zai-3 or Zeon Republic, a reformed self-governing Zai-3 under the Federation's wing. Like we had talked about with the Federation type Zaku II F2. Many ex-Principality territories prefer to be guarded by Zakus instead of the scary Federation GMs. Second would be the Space Colony Militia. While there are still Federation garrisons for individual colony sites, the Federation is still mainly a military force controlled by the Federation government. With so many more mobile suits floating around after the war, criminals adopted some of those, even if they are terrible rebuilds of battlefield scraps and low-power mobile workers. They are still very challenging to deal with without other mobile suits. So colonies begin to arm themselves with small number of basic mobile suits. If these militia were unlucky enough, they may even need to face off privateering Zeon remnants. Third would be the mercenaries and securities, formed by corporations to protect themselves from unwillingly supporting the Zeon remnants. While the Federation was not surplusing mobile suits after the 1-year war like they eventually did a couple of decades later, since Zaku II FZ is built with common Zeon parts, it was possible that mercenaries and securities employed Zeon engineers, armorers and mechanics to assemble Zaku II FZ out of spare parts, since those would be less harshly restricted. That's probably also why sometimes you would see Zaku II F listed to have titanium ceramic composite armor instead of super hard steel like Zaku II F or F2, because there are some post-war rebuilds. It is probably also why some records suggest Zaku II FZ can use Federation mobile suit parts, because the rebuild may not have access to the full Zeon catalog and have to make do. Zaku II FZ can be seen used by Zeon remnants at the Laplace conflict in UZ0096 and by colonial militias in early UZ100s. It seems Zeon's plan to make Zaku out of a universal standard pays off, as those examples seem to have been modernized. It is also debatable that Zaku II's successors from Neo Zeon, like Zaku III and Garadoga, resemble the FZ more than either F or F2. Zaku II F proves that if you want to replace a Zaku, you need another Zaku. Thanks for watching.